This knife has a straight edge on it, so it's very easy. And maybe in our world here, there lives a happy little mountain.
What's up, guys? Today I'm going to be tying a caddis pattern. It is a speckled wing caddis. There's a lot of caddises this time of year, October and in November in this area. I know out west and where it gets a lot colder, caddises kind of stopped, but here in Georgia and kind of western North Carolina, Tennessee, there's still some caddises coming off the water. So we're going to be tying a caddis pattern. It's a gray speckled wing caddis emerger. So that's kind of the pattern we're looking at right there. So I'm going to be tying it on a size 12 Mustad curved caddis or egg hook. So I'm going to start by putting my hook into the vise. Just like that. In my bobbin I have 70 denier UTC thread in olive brown. You are going to be putting a deer hair wing on this. So if you have like 140 or gel spun or any kind of other stronger thread, I would suggest that you can definitely do it with the 70, but it's just going to be a little bit harder. You can't really put as much pressure on it or it's going to break. But I'm just going to start by winding my thread about 2 eye lengths on the shank, just like that, and let my bobbin or thread rest right in front of the hook point. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use a dubbing. It's going to go down the body. It's going to look like the shuck or the body of the emerging caddis, but I'm going to be using Nature Spirits Hare's Ear Brown blend, Hare's Mask dubbing. So I'm just going to take a little bit, about that much, and just kind of pick from it. You don't need a lot here. You just need to get a little bit, spin it onto your thread. You just finger dub it on. It ain't too crucial how you get it on there, but you just want it really thin. And you just start wrapping your way down the thread, or down the hook, to about right there. And then you can start adding a little bit more. You can taper up the body. You want the thinnest part of the body to be closer towards the curve of the hook. And then the thicker part be up towards the wing or the head of the fly. So you can see that tape getting bigger as I go up. And I just put a little on at a time. It's a lot easier to add more on than to take it off. So I just kind of take my time and make sure I get it right. And then once you get right here, I'm going to kind of cheat a little bit and adjust my hook up a little bit, just so it'll be a little bit easier to work on a flatter level surface. So now that we've got that body about where we want it, we stopped right about where I started my thread wraps. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some CDC and dark dun. This is just a bulk pack I have, so if you got some really good CDC, this would be a really great pattern, even better pattern. This is kind of crappy CDC, but it's the only one I have in dark dun. So I'm just going to grab 2 feathers, and then as you can see there's 2 feathers here, kind of marry them together, get those tips aligned, stroke all those fibers up. And if you've ever watched Fly Fish Foods Caddis patterns, I'm basically doing the same thing he does, which is just take the CDC, I'm going to put it up against that dubbing, and I want that wing to kind of come down right in line with the hook. I don't know if you can see that. Right in line with the bend of the hook, or the back of the hook. Then I'm going to come in with a pinch wrap, come down, wrap a couple times, and then come back with it. Now I'm going to take the rest of these fibers, pull back, come over top, catch it, and then come in at a 45-degree and clip my feathers. Now I got a little extra more bulk. All that does is it adds bulk to the back of that CDC. If you have a sparse CDC wing, it won't capture as much air, and so it kind of won't float as well. But that's where we're at right now. Now I'm gonna bring my thread up a little bit. Now this is probably the hardest part of the entire fly. I'm gonna use 2 different types of hair here. One's actually deer and one is elk. I usually use elk, but I didn't have any elk dyed bleach. But I'm going to use Nature Spirits deer hair dyed bleach and Nature Spirits Select Cow and Brown. So we'll go ahead and I'm just going to clip off a small clump. How I do it is I usually take my scissors, come in, grab just a little bit, about like that right there. Don't take a lot because this is a small caddis, but about that much hair. Clip it off, get your trash can, spread those tips like that, and just kind of, if you got a comb, use a comb. You can brush out all that fuzz, the under fiber stuff, because that right there will sink your fly if you get that thing soaked with water, or let alone you catch a fish on it, it gets slimed, this thing's done. So get as much of that stuff as you can out. It'll keep your fly floating longer. Now that we got that one, I'm going to do the same thing with the brown elk hair. I'm just going to take a small clump, about the same amount, and do the same thing, just clean it out. I just laid that bleached deer hair down on the table where I could pick it up easy without ruining it. But I'm just taking, this is really bad, you know, like late season elk or deer, because look at all that, I don't know if you can see, look at all that fuzz. I just one swap. So I really need to clean this out really well. Okay, so now that you got it cleaned up pretty good, you can drop it on top of that stack of bleach. Now I've got my bleach and my brown in one hand. So what I'm going to do is grab the tips, and I'm just going to roll it around in my hand like that. Grab it, roll it around. You might drop a few, but this is really too much deer hair. And all you're doing is mixing that and getting that mottled look. I don't know if you can see that very well, but it's just a mottled look we're getting. And then if you got a hair stacker that's big enough, I kind of rigged my own hair stacker out of a pill bottle and like this cocoa butter stick. But it works for me, so I don't see why. I just don't see the point in buying a deer hair stacker when you can find other ways to stack deer hair just as well. But if you got a deer hair stacker or another way of doing it, go ahead and stack it. I just stick the tips in first, drop it in, come through, and I don't know if you can see that. There's all my deer hair stacked perfectly. Didn't need no fancy deer hair stacker. Right there it is. Grab your tips. Pull any fuzz that's left. Now as you can see, this wing's very mottled. It's got a lot of brown and that bleached look. There's a lot of good contrast to it. So now what I'm going to do is measure out my wing, and I want the tips of that wing, that hair, to just go right over, just over the CDC. I actually probably got a little too much, so I'm going to pull some of that hair out. But once I get that measurement, I'm going to switch it in my hands, come in, and I'm going to clip about a millimeter, 2 millimeters in front of my fingers. Just a clean, just like that. So now I've got just a little bit of deer hair. So now I'm going to spin my thread. I'm going to spin it counterclockwise to get that corded up so it has a lot of strength lined up on it. It ain't laying out flat. It's lined up just like this. Come over, loose wrap, start to sink down on it. Pinch down hard, pinch the sides hard. Another wrap, come down, another wrap, one more. Then I go into the fibers a little bit just to secure that a little bit more. Push down on it. Come in front, just like that. Now I'm going to throw in a half hitch. Oh, I missed it. Now, if you've ever had problems, the reason I throw a half hitch, if you ever had problems with doing a whip finish and it unravels on you and then all your hair or hackle falls apart or whatever, a half hitch kind of saves your work. So now, if I get slack on this, it's not going to unravel. So if something happens and like I accidentally hit the thread or something, it's kind of secured by a half hitch. But anyway, now I'm going to take my whip finish tool, come in, do a whip finish. About a 4-turn whip finish or so. And try to hit it with another one. Oh, see, like that right there. If I'd have done that without a whip finish on it, or a half hitch, I would have ruined this entire fly. Or I'd had to start over with the wing. There you go. Lance off your thread. Come in here with some head cement or UV resin if you want. I'm using Loon UV Flow. Hit it with your light. And there you have it. If you have any hair or like any part of the wing you don't want, you can just come in and kind of clip it really close. If it stands up too much, you can clip those fibers too. We're not too worried about how it looks if you're just going to fish it. But that's basically it, guys. Speckled wing caddis. Tie them up, catch some fish this fall. Hope you enjoy it.